the hormone myths, right? And I had just said, if you didn't watch the last one, I said I needed to do a little series on this because it's such a big topic. I can't fit it all in. I'll just bore people to death. But this hormone myth is, do I actually need hormones? And I say that because right now it's so in vogue that everybody is taking hormones. Matter of fact, this is what I hear. I hear that, well, we need hormones, especially in perimenopause and menopause today. Well, I don't think God created us to need more hormones. I think the innate intelligence has it all figured out. Matter of fact, I make the argument that the hormone game is a hard game to win. Now, with that said, I'm not telling anyone to stop their hormones or start taking them by any means, but I'm saying that there is another side to this story. My wife, there is no doubt that she was told that she should get on hormones when she was dealing with the perimenopause typical symptoms, but she made it, right? And I know many women who have made it. Dr. Mindy Peltz, I'm sure she'll be watching this, or her resetter group, but she was another one. She made it. She did it without hormones, but she was very hormone dysregulated. But we actually educate people on these things, what to do so you don't need hormones, because the hormone game, it's a rough game, right? So the fact is that, yeah, most people seem to do a little better with hormones until they're not. And one of the questions before, as we were building an audience, was, what about bioidentical hormones? You know, are they safe? And I said, well, watch last time's video, toxic estrogen, because you can actually be taking bioidentical hormones and feel a little better, but be developing cancer. So the point is when you take a hormone, you're forcing the body into a direction. And that's why the game's hard, because, okay, this hormone's better, but then these hormones aren't. And you've seen me always draw the cell, right? So on every cell are the hormone receptors. And the problem is, okay, so let's use estrogen. And estrogen has to dock with this hormone receptor, get its message in the cell, you feel better. So, and that's an active form of estrogen that actually gets that done. I could be talking about testosterone, I could be talking about thyroid hormone, but ultimately it's the hormone receptor that it connects to and gets the job done. So the problem is this: out here in the blood, we increase the hormone. In this case, we're talking about estrogen, right? And we say, okay, the hormone value is better, you should feel better, but not always. We don't always feel better. But even if you do, like this, I give the example of shouting at your kids, right? You shout at them. In the beginning, they actually listen. But then we're shouting at the cell, in this case. In the beginning, it hears it. We start giving you more estrogen, meaning we're actually forcing the cell to accept the estrogen. But the problem is after a while, it hears the estrogen, it hears the shout to use estrogen less and less and less. Just like our kids, they hear us less and less to where it's now not only effective, it's actually damaging, right? And that's the problem with bioidentical hormones, right? So, and again, I'm gonna say there's a time and a place for hormones. So I'm not Mr. Anti-all hormones. I'm saying there's another thing that we have to consider, and that's the upstream cause of what's really interfering with the hormone. So inflammation is what blunts the hormone receptor. So just like so many conditions, inflammation is the problem. But then we have to ask ourselves, what is the number one cause of inflammation? And it is, in fact, toxins, right? Toxins blunt the receptors. I mean, there's other things, too. I would argue even bad thoughts can drive cellular inflammation and have an effect on hormones, right? Trapped emotions, right? So there's many different stressors that can affect these receptors. But the point I really want to make is this. You have to get to the cause. That's the key, right? So yes, a lot of women and men today have hormone dysregulation, but just by taking hormones, you can take some hormones maybe to help balance, but if you're not working upstream to the source and the cause, you're dead in the water right there. So that is really the message, is we have to get to these causative factors. And I always talk about the three everybody misses, right? Hidden infections, even root canals, cavitations. What about mold? People live in moldy homes, they don't know, and it's making them sick because you don't see it necessarily. But I teach about different tests. Matter of fact, on Instagram, I'm doing a series there. But the fact is you have to consider the upstream root cause to why the hormones are dysfunctioning. Any questions on this?
There's a product that's called Estro Life, made by Smoking Mountain. Is that safe?
Well, what it is, I don't know the product, so I don't want to comment, what's in it. But the bottom line is maybe, just maybe, it's pushing a hormone in one direction or another. There's a time and a place to do that. But I like supplements that actually kind of help the cell, the receptor of the cell in your cell, hear the hormones better.
So what about like progesterone cream?
Yeah, so progesterone cream is what we're talking about when we say even a bioidentical hormone, more natural to the body than, say, just taking a synthetic form. So I would argue that bioidenticals are better, but again, I'm criticizing the fact that, it's still shouting at our children. It's still shouting at our cells. We're pushing more progesterone, which there's a time and a place. I like a 24-hour urine hormone where we collect urine for 24 hours, and then we can see where these hormones are actually going, because it could be flowing over into toxic androgens like testosterone or toxic estrogen, and then it can be causing cancer and other problems. And you could actually feel a little better and still do that. That's the problem. So, the fact is that there's a time and a place, but you have to evaluate that. I think, based on a good urine challenge test is the way to do it. So you just have to be careful when you're forcing the body in a hormonal direction, because remember, you're actually affecting a lot of other hormones. When you take progesterone, some of that can end up into cortisol. Then it can, that's affecting your stress response, and even cortisone, which can affect inflammation. So my point is it's not so easy just taking a hormone.
What's the easiest way somebody can boost their hormones short term?
Yeah, so I think boosting hormones short term, we have to look upstream, right? Getting better rest, getting to bed early, getting your circadian rhythm, you're immediately going to have a better hormone. What about in the winter, taking a vitamin D balanced with vitamin D, A, E, all of them? You have to take all of the fat solubles. Vitamin D is a pro-hormone, and that can make an immediate difference. But look, I'm almost avoiding the big topic. What about the big dietary changes, right? My diet variation strategies, I talk about it in my book, chapters 4 and 5. That creates hormone optimization. Periodic fasting creates hormone optimization. Intermittent fasting, which is chapter 2 in my book, well, chapter 3 actually, I build the argument in chapter 2, actually creates hormone optimization. So those are the simple dietary things you can do that really, can really deal with the causative factors, at least getting these receptors more sensitive to the hormones. And really, that's the key. And then, of course, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is cellular detox. Ultimately, if we don't get these toxins off the cells and out of the cells, we're never going to regulate hormones.
So end the video, and then we'll take questions. End this video, but I'm going to hang around and answer some more questions. But listen, I probably need to put in there my 5R videos. I think they were on YouTube, but my son will add them in here. Watch those videos, because I really expand upon my 5Rs, and those are the things you actually need to do to fix a cell to get well, and ultimately your hormones. Check it out.